What's up you guys, my name is Marlon and welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys once again for tuning in. Before we start, as always, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do so. If you're new here, well, welcome to the channel. I make videos about fashion, sneakers, hair, and just lifestyle in general, so thank you guys for watching this video. By the way, I want to take the time to thank you guys so much for helping me reach 400 subscribers. I just realized that I never really got a chance to do it, so thank you guys so much. I feel like it happened so fast that I just never took the time to acknowledge it. As I'm filming this video today, we're actually 9 subs away from 500. So if you're watching this video, it means it's Tuesday, October 6th, and I will hope that I've reached 500. So you know what, I'm just gonna say thank you guys for helping me reach 500 subscribers. If it doesn't happen, I'm gonna look really dumb, so I hope by then I will have reached 500. By the way, so that means, just make sure to subscribe, because we're trying to get to that 500, man, halfway to 1,000. That's very exciting. I'm super happy about that. Thank you guys so much for the support. I've been getting so many messages, people just showing a lot of love, so I really appreciate that, for real. My girl just gave me some fresh braids, and also I'm seeing my barber tomorrow, so my hairline is looking a bit suboptimal right now, so that's the reason why I'm wearing this do-rag. So hope you guys like it. So if you're here today, it's because you watched my last video on Invisalign that I posted about 2 weeks ago. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what the hell you're doing. So go and check it out here. I'm gonna put it in the corner. I've always wanted to do the little eye thing, so that's pretty cool. Basically, you watched my video about 2 weeks ago, you loved it, you got super motivated, you realized, you know what, it's time to get my teeth fixed. You got an appointment with your orthodontist. He said,
you know what, let's start today. Actually, no, let's start next week, because right now it's COVID.
And you said, bet, and you got your trays, and now you're ready to go. So obviously, I'm bullshitting, because there's no way that happened in 2 weeks. But if you're still tuning in, it means that you like the video. So today I'm really just here to give you some additional tips regarding Invisalign, things that you should know before starting. I didn't want to make the last video too long. I mean, it was already 25 minutes, which I know for a lot of you guys, you want to see shorter videos. So in this video, I kind of want to elaborate a bit more on some tips that I've learned along the way that can really help people before you start Invisalign. And then once you get started, you'll have this video as a reference so that you can remember those tips and things that I've told you, and it's going to help you in your journey, and it's going to make things a lot easier. So we're going to get started. So the first point I want to go over is kind of going back to what I said about wearing the trays 22 hours. So as I mentioned, I said that it's very important that you wear your trays 22 hours out of the day, every day. The reason why 22 hours is so important is because of this. Whenever you're wearing your trays, your teeth are shifting in the way you want them to. You're trying to move them in the right position. You're trying to get your teeth straight. As soon as you take your trays off, it's not like your teeth just stop moving. They actually start to shift the other way. So think about it this way. There's 24 hours in a day. You wear your trays for 22 hours, and then the 2 hours that you're using to eat and just kind of take a break from wearing your trays, you're actually losing progress. So it means that in a day, you're actually at a net progress of 22 minus 2, which is 20 hours, right? Now look at it this way. Over the course of a week, 20 hours is 140 hours, right? So you get about 140 hours of progress if you follow the guidelines and you wear them for the recommended 22 hours out of the day. Now let's look at an example where you wear your trays for, we'll say 20 hours instead of 22 hours. Now all of a sudden, you're wearing your trays for 20 hours and then you don't have them in for 4 hours. That means that you're basically at a net progress of 20 minus 4, which is 16, right? 16 hours times 7, that's 112. So that means that just by wearing your trays 2 less hours per day, you're losing, if you do 140 minus 112, that's 28 hours. How much is 28 hours? It's actually a day and 4 hours. So you're losing more than a day of progress just by not wearing your trays an extra 2 hours. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. Think about it over the course of a year, for example. So let's do 28 hours per week, right, that you lose, times 52. So 28 hours times 52 gives you 1,456 hours lost in a year. And if you translate that to days, that gives you 60 days. You're losing 2 months of progress by not wearing your trays for 22 hours and you wear them for 20 hours instead. You really have to realize that everything that you do on a day-to-day basis is going to affect the progress you make. It's going to make the treatment time a lot longer than it should be. Also, your teeth might not track as good as it should. That's why it's very important that you wear your trays for 22 hours, okay? Cool. Next up, I want to talk about the things that you should always have with you. So obviously, because you're wearing your trays for 22 hours, you have to make sure that you're well equipped. That way you can make sure your trays stay as clean as possible, and it just makes the process as smooth as possible. So the most important thing is obviously, you have your trays in and you're gonna have your case with you. I have my case at all times. Sometimes you can put it in your pocket, but I feel like it's kind of bulky, so I don't really want to do that. So what I did is I actually got a pouch. Well, my girl got me a pouch last year that I was rocking all the time, and that's where I would put my case. It just makes it more aesthetic. This pouch, basically became part of a lot of my outfits, and it worked. I was still able to pack everything I needed in there. It was perfect. Inside my case, the most important thing that I have is Chewies. What Chewies are is basically, once you put your trays in, you just chew on the Chewy, easy, and it helps like really just sit the trays as they should on your teeth. Because obviously sometimes, like, you know, when you change the trays, the new tray is going to be tight, it's going to feel stiff, and it's not going to fit on the teeth the right way. So you want to use those Chewies. Usually you can just ask your orthodontist to give you some, or you can just order some on Amazon. It's pretty cheap. Usually my dentist just gives me some for free. So next up, I would always carry some toothpaste and a toothbrush. Usually a lot of convenience stores have the travel section, so you can just get like a foldable toothbrush and just a very small toothpaste. That way it's not taking up too much space and you're good to go. Another thing you want to have with you obviously is floss. You know, you want to keep your trays nice and clean and your teeth nice and clean as well. Obviously you want to avoid having cavities, because you know, when your teeth are sitting in trays all day, it's very easy to just accumulate a lot of bacteria. So you want to have floss on you all the time. Floss is honestly as important as having the toothbrush and toothpaste, so make sure you have that as well. Next, if you want, you can also have just like a small mouthwash. I know it's kind of inconvenient, like obviously you can spill as well. If you can, it's awesome because, you know, it keeps your mouth nice and fresh, which is what you want. Also, what's going to be very important is carrying a chapstick around. The more you wear your trays, the more you're talking to people, your lips are going to be very dry. You know, I'm always carrying a chapstick around. I was carrying a chapstick before I started Invisalign, but when I was doing it, I realized how important it was. Now, obviously with the current situation with COVID, it's kind of tough to always, you know, take off your trays and put them back in. So make sure you always wash your hands before you take them off. And when you put them back in, it's going to be very important. I know you can also get these tools that help you take your trays off. Some people said that they struggle to take their trays off because of the attachments on the teeth. Obviously, it makes it a lot tougher depending on where the attachments are. Honestly, I'm going to say one thing, because you're going to be washing hands so much, make sure to get you some hand lotion. So to kind of go back to the toothpaste thing, by the way, one thing I would say is to avoid using whitening toothpaste. Reason why is because you have your attachments on your teeth during the treatment. So if you use whitening toothpaste, you're going to whiten everything around, but under the attachment, obviously the tooth color is not going to change, so then it's going to be uneven. So what I would suggest is, if I were you, I would hold off. And usually dentists will tell you the same thing. Just hold off until you finish. Just be patient, you know. Realize that it comes in steps, you know. First you have to fix the issues and then you worry about the aesthetics. Just make sure you take your time, you're patient, and then once you're done, you'll be very happy to have your nice smile, and then you can just whiten it. Do not use any teeth whitening. Don't use those whitening strips. Just stay away from them while you're doing the treatment. So tip number 3 kind of goes back to tip number 2 as well, and it's going to be very important that you brush and floss your teeth every time you eat. You really want to get into the habit of doing that as often as you can. So in my case, I was eating about 4 times a day. So I was brushing and flossing 4 times a day. Your oral health is going to get a lot better just by brushing and flossing all the time. And to go back to what I was saying about whitening your teeth, I noticed that my teeth actually got whiter without even using any whitening strips, because I was brushing and flossing so much. My gums were very healthy. I think that's really one of the best benefits of Invisalign, if obviously you take the necessary steps. Now, if you're lazy, it's gonna be a problem. The thing I'm gonna tell you is this: at the beginning, you're gonna be very on top of it. Over time though, I'm not gonna lie, man, over time you do get kind of lazy. You know, I'm not saying I was leaving out my trays too long. I've done it probably a couple times, but what I mean is, you know, sometimes, you know, you're gonna, maybe you go out or something and then you drink something and then you just put your trays back in. Obviously you're like, whatever, I ain't got time to brush my teeth, you know. So it's good to get into the good habits at first, because then it gives you like more margin for error later, right? If you're already lazy at the beginning, imagine how it's gonna be after a year or 2 of wearing your trays and you're fed up with it. Yo, you're basically gonna fuck it up. I'm just gonna tell you right now. Make sure that you keep that in mind. Brush and floss between every meal is gonna be very important, and also it makes sure that, you know, your teeth stay clean inside the trays. And at the end of the day, you should brush and floss anyways, right? So yeah. Next up, I want to talk about the foods that you need to avoid. Yes, there are foods that you should avoid if you don't want your trays to be yellow. You know, obviously no one wants yellow teeth. Imagine having yellow trays. It looks even worse, you know. So in terms of food that you want to avoid, you have to, well, I'm not saying you can't eat it, but I'm just saying like you have to be careful with those types. You gotta avoid curry. There's that spice called cumin or something. Yeah, I think it's cumin. You want to avoid that because it's very colorful. And also curry, you know, same thing, it's yellow, so it's gonna obviously make your trays and your teeth yellow. You want to avoid colorful drinks, so like you kind of want to stay away from like sodas and Coke and stuff like that. Be careful with coffee as well. Same thing with tea, like those things tend to stain your teeth. Also be careful with hot drinks, because then it's gonna melt the inside of the trays, and then it kind of compromises the effectiveness of that tray. One tip I can give you is that I'm someone that drinks coffee about almost every day. I would always drink it with a straw, and people would always give me shit for it. I don't know why, like what's wrong with drinking coffee with a straw like that? But anyways, it's good because like by drinking it with a straw, at least you're drinking to the back of your mouth. So at least you're reducing the risk of melting off the tray or something like that. What I'm gonna tell you is this: if you're gonna be eating that type of stuff, make sure it's like in the last few days of your tray. If you know that in like the next day you're gonna switch to the next one, then go ahead, you know, have fun, do that. Sometimes for me it was perfect because like I would basically end up switching my tray like on Saturday. So let's say I went out on Friday, I would wild the fuck out. I would just do whatever I wanted. I would drink with my trays in. It was good, you know, I could enjoy myself. Tip number 6 is get you a tray cleaner. So obviously, you know, you wanna make sure your trays stay as clean as possible. So you want to make sure you have something to clean them, right? Usually you can use tablets, dip the trays in water and then use tablets. But I think getting a tray cleaner is actually even more effective because usually it's able to like just shake the water and it just kind of removes the bacteria on the trays. The one that I got was from Magnasonic. I think I copped it for like $34. And what I would do is every night before I put my trays in, before going to bed, I would just dip them in lukewarm water. I would put a tablet in there and then just turn it on and it was good to go. You can find one for like a decent price on Amazon, so definitely check that out. But yeah, if you want to know, the one I got was from Magnasonic. I'll put the link in the description if needed. Okay, so next up I want to talk about an app that I used during my treatment, mostly at the beginning. Towards the end, like I said, I got a bit lazier, but at the beginning I was very adamant about this app, and it's the Tray Minder app. It's an app that I found that really helped me. And the reason why it helps is because you're able to very accurately track how long you're keeping your trays in. They actually have a timer, and every time you're wearing your tray, you just click on play, and it just counts the number of hours that you're wearing your tray. And as soon as you take them off, you just click on pause for however long you have your trays out. Once you put them back in, you just click on play again, and then over the days, it's gonna tell you how long you've been wearing them. This app is also very effective because it's gonna ask you a bunch of questions like how long is your treatment, you know, how many trays you have, how long are you keeping them in. I like the fact that at the bottom they put a message like, oh, you have 70 days until the perfect smile or something like that. I think it's very encouraging. But the best thing about it is that you can actually take teeth selfies. At the beginning of each tray, you know, you can take a teeth selfie, and then, you know, over time you see the change, which I think is really cool. I was doing it for a bit, but I wish I would have really done it every week because I really could have seen the transformation in my smile. I'll probably include some pictures, but yeah, I think it's a really cool app. At the beginning, it's gonna be your best friend if you're really trying to be disciplined about wearing your trays. So I definitely recommend this app. You can just find it on the App Store. I'm gonna include a link if needed. So tip number 7 is about how to manage pain. And if you've seen my last video, I did mention that a lot of times when you're switching trays, it tends to get very painful, especially that very first one. So the best way to manage pain is to take Tylenol. And I know people are gonna ask, oh, why not Advil? Well, there's a reason. The reason why you have to take Tylenol and not Advil is because Advil is actually an anti-inflammatory. If you understand how teeth move, and I'm just telling you what my orthodontist told me, but when you're looking to move teeth, what happens is that your gums actually get inflamed. Now, obviously they don't become super puffy, but they do get inflamed. And that's actually what helps move the bone and the roots of the teeth, you know, so you need that inflammation to move your teeth. So if you're taking Advil, which is an anti-inflammatory, you're removing that inflammation, so it's actually making it harder to move your teeth. You see what I mean? If you're taking other medicine as well, definitely keep that in mind because it's going to be very important. So tip number 8 is about one of the struggles of having trays in. Sometimes some of the trays can be sharp, like they have very sharp edges. In that sense, I was very lucky, like most of my trays were good, but there were a few that did cut into my lip and also cut into my tongue. I remember one in particular, like I couldn't even talk, I couldn't even eat because like it had cut my tongue up so much the first 2 days. It was horrible. The best way to deal with that is you can actually use a nail filer and just kind of shave it down a little bit. I'm not saying go crazy with it, but just shave it down a little bit to the point where it's actually sitting, you know, on your gums nicely and it's not painful. Tip number 9 is also another struggle that you can have, and it's basically when you take your trays out, a lot of times people sometimes have attachments that fall off, you know. Maybe you grab the tray a little bit too hard and it kind of just ripped off an attachment. In that case, for the most part, usually it's okay, like you can still continue your treatment, but I would suggest you call them for that just in case, and then let them figure out whether or not you can just continue or if you need to come in for a new appointment. And the next piece of advice that I'm going to give you, please don't self-diagnose. And what I mean by that is you're having an issue with one of your trays or one of your attachments fell off, don't try to do it yourself. I've seen some crazy stories where people actually order like sandpaper and like they try to do their own IPR. Always contact them and let them figure out what you should do. I remember when I had one tray, one of the sides was like lifted, so when I would put it in, it would always pop back up, you know. I made sure to call my orthodontist and they told me what to do. They told me to just kind of bend it a little bit and it was fine, but I'd rather they tell me to do it, because the thing is also, if they tell you to do something and then you fuck up, it's on them, right? They told you. But if you do something that they didn't tell you about and then you fuck up and then you gotta get a new tray and then maybe you gotta pay some more, you gotta waste more time, it's just all that, you know. Obviously it's better to listen to what they're saying and then you follow their instructions. I'm not an orthodontist, I don't know what I'm doing. At the end of the day, that's their job, you know. They're the ones that figure out exactly what's the best course of action depending on what happened. Another tip I always give you guys is, let's say you go to an appointment, you have this dentist that tells you, listen, I can probably fix your teeth in 4 months, you know. and then you go to another one and they tell you it's going to take you 18 months. Obviously, there's a big change, you know, so that probably means that the first guy that told you could do it in 4 months is probably not going to do it the best way. And that's a big issue with going to alternative companies like Smile Direct Club, for example. And it's not that I want to talk shit about Smile Direct Club, but I've heard so many bad stories. I actually had a friend who she actually DM'd me after seeing the video, and she talked about how she had some issues with Smile Direct Club as well. So guys, go to what's certified. If you see a brand targeting a lot of influencers, not all brands, but in some fields, I don't think it's a good thing. When it comes to teeth, I don't think a teeth straightening company should be targeting influencers, because you know, you're influencing people to go to a brand that may not be trustworthy. You don't see Invisalign targeting influencers because they know their company is trustworthy. They know that it's certified. The people that they hire are real orthodontists. I can't say the same about Smile Direct Club. So keep that in mind, guys. Like, if you go somewhere and the treatment length seems too good to be true, it probably is, you know? So that's why I say go to multiple consultations, check out different offices, and kind of get different opinions, you know? I think it's the best way to make sure that you don't do anything that you might regret down the line. It's gonna save you a lot of time, it's gonna save you a lot of money, and a lot of heartache. You don't wanna be bitter about the whole experience. You wanna make sure that you do it right the first time, and make sure you do thorough research before you start. Next tip, well, it's not really a tip, but it's more a piece of information. There's actually a device called Propel, where it's a device that you put in your teeth when you have your trays in. It just kind of vibrates your gums. The vibration of the gums makes the gums, I guess, inflame. So it makes it easier and faster to move the teeth. I remember I was watching a video, I'm pretty sure it was Aaliyah's Face. I was watching her Invisalign review, and she talked about how she did that. And usually, like I said, you change your trays every 7 days, maybe 10 days, maybe sometimes even 2 weeks. But she was actually able to change her trays every 5 days because she was using Propel. So I know that it's very effective. Obviously, it's not free. You know, you do have to pay for it, for the service, but it is something that is available to you if you feel like, you know, your treatment length is too long and you just want to make it faster. If you have the means to afford it, then go ahead. And the last topic I want to talk about, basically I want to give more information about, you know, pricing. One thing I forgot to mention actually is that a lot of times, like, you can find offices that are doing discounts in Invisalign. Let's say they'll do $2,000 off. You can find a bunch of discounts and good deals if you really shop around. And also, I'm gonna say this, but I'm not, you know, I don't want to give anybody any advice. Obviously, I'm not a tax expert. But for example, in my case, when you start Invisalign, obviously that's a big expense. It is actually tax deductible. I was actually able to get a tax return from it. But once again, I'm saying this for my own experience. I'm not saying you're gonna get a tax return automatically. Talk to an accountant, talk to the offices you go to, because I don't want to be liable for anything, any decision that you take, and then you come back to me and say, oh yeah, you told me I was gonna get a tax return. I'm just saying, in my case, I did. All right, I did my research, and I did. All right. The reason why I'm saying this is because, you know, that's probably gonna help you pay Invisalign as well. And also, as I mentioned, you know, you can do payment plans. And payment plans are really the best thing. Unless you have the money saved up and you can just pay full, great. You know, I think that's the best way to do it. If you just pay in full, then obviously there's no interest, right? But if you don't have those means, in my case, you know, I think it was better to just spread the payments. If you feel like Invisalign is a bit too expensive, either, you know, save up for it, wait a couple years, you know, be patient and do it later when you feel ready, or just look into regular braces. And also, I want to go back to a point I said about Invisalign moving your teeth more effectively. Actually, I would say regular braces are still more practical and more effective than Invisalign, because they're able to do any type of movement usually. But I would say that Invisalign, in a lot of cases, they can move teeth as optimally or a bit less optimally than regular braces. So anyways, guys, that was 13 tips and just pieces of information that you could need when you start Invisalign. So I hope you guys liked the video. I hope you guys found the information helpful. I really just wanted to share my experience. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching my last video. You guys seem to really enjoy it. I got a lot of questions regarding it, and I know how tough of a decision it could be to jump into it, but I feel like, you know, I talked to a lot of people that said that they're really interested in doing it. And guys, like I said, once again, you know, having a nice smile and just having a smile you're confident about, at the end of the day, is priceless. Even if it sounds like it's a lot of money, the amount of time you're going to be able to enjoy your smile makes up for how much you think you're going to pay right now. So it's a long-term thing, obviously. I hope you guys liked the video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in once again. Thank you guys again for 500 subscribers. Hopefully I reached it by the time the video drops. Really appreciate the support, guys. It means a lot to me. We're halfway through 1,000, and that's crazy to me. I started the year with like 70 subscribers, I think, or something like that, you know. And so to see the growth, especially in September, it's been pretty cool. So anyways, if you guys like the video, make sure to leave a like, comment, share. Don't forget to subscribe. My name is Marlon, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.